What is up, my Ammonites? It's your boy Yen Guy, and welcome back to another live stream. And we are continuing onward with the hybrid war. What is up, Psycho? How's it going? Hello. Yes, we are going to be discussing more on the hybrid war, because just the other day, Goji Center actually released the top 16 hybrids of their choosing, and well, it was actually not chosen, but after going through my first hybrid that I created, I actually agree that I may or may not have made a few too many contributors, but I still believe they are complimentary, so I was pretty careful. But let's see, without further ado, let's go ahead and see where the contributors are. So let's go. All right, let's go. Oh yes, we'll be going over this video soon enough. So, but in the meantime, let's go ahead and find a new hybrid. I've been doing a lot of things. Hold on, I'm trying to find it. Ah! Okay. Hold on, I just need to find it. I know it's all low. Okay, I'm gonna be... Indoraptor, boop. Okay. Goji Center. Sorry, I'm just trying to find the right video. Hold on a second. Ah! Here it is! All right, let's go ahead and get this show on the road, cause the votes are in, and we're gonna take a look at just what Goji Center has chosen for the hybrid war. Will this be the end? I wouldn't think so, cause I would like to think even to this day there are hybrids being made as we speak. So let's take a look at the 16 that may or may not have a chance.
On July 22nd, 2024, a nightmare was unleashed that could end an era of mankind. This creature sent ripples across the planet, and the internet took it as a mission to eliminate this animal.
Yes.
Many failed. Many current...
Hold on a second. Oh. Just need to find a way to reach you guys. Okay. I know it. Sorry, I am so unprepared tonight. I promise I'm not... Okay, it's starting over. So I am so unprepared. I am so sorry. I am so sorry. Okay. Okay, let's start over. Hello, Raptor. How's it going? Okay, trying this again.
On July 22nd, 2024, a nightmare was unleashed that could end an era of mankind.
Yep.
This creature sent ripples across the planet, and the internet took it as a mission to eliminate this animal. Many failed.
That's
Many
right, we're looking at the hybrid war.
Succeeded, but only a select few might have actually accomplished surviving and defeating the pale horse of pestilence and death.
And I've also continued that trend with my dragon. After looking at it, I may have added too many contributors, so I'll be going over some of the videos and going over that video and actually discussed what I actually built. Yeah, as I may have stated before, and I'm probably gonna be going ahead and making another video out of this live stream at some point. Hopefully I am not too busy with everything else. But I do have a lot of interesting ideas. And I've also just happened to have made another hybrid. That's right, another hybrid. Hold on a second. Yeah, let me go ahead and grab my paper, because paper is what I've been papering. Hold on a second. Hold on. Okay, sorry. So sorry about that. I actually had to make a few adjustments to the current hybrid of the latest design that I made. Unlike the other dragon that I made, this one does not fly, but still has the firepower to back it up. But enough about that. Let's get back to the contestants. Let's go ahead and head on over back here. And I will tell you what kind of monster I've unleashed.
These were the final 16.
The final 16 of this
Hybrid
contest.
War. A competition set out to challenge daring, aspiring geneticists to research, craft, and study fictitious hybrids composed of real-life animals.
Which is actually interesting, because the component... I'll continue the great hybrid war, and I will let you all who watch this video continue to battle my hybrids. The hybrid war will continue! You mark my words!
With the end goal of surviving and defeating a 2.0 in single hand-to-hand combat. Out of the more than 1,600 submissions, very few would have been able to kill a 2.0, with even fewer displaying creative body types, high congruence, excellent genomes, and unique combat methodologies that earned them the spot in the final 16.
Yep.
To keep this list interesting, the research team at Goji Center HQ handpicked the creatures that would perform best in a 1v1 matchup against the 2.0.
If Vex is not on here, I would be very disappointed. But, yeah, I'm saying that the hybrid war more than likely continue because there's still Vex. And as we know, there are a lot more hybrids that are going on, and I chose a creature that is designed to be in the air. How many opponents challenged your hybrid so far? At least 3 as of so far. But after looking at the contributors, I may have given too many. But I did make a 2.0 of 2 different versions. So, yeah, that's going to be interesting. And I made other hybrids. All thanks to you guys. You guys wanted to see me build a hybrid. I killed a few of your beasts. Of course, there are a few critics that have said it'll probably be scrambled, which I agree to a certain extent. I may have contributed to many, but that does not mean I did not design it pretty well. So, with that being said, let's have a look at the contributors.
Featuring some very unique builds, as you'll soon see. In the next few episodes of the Hybrid War, we'll narrow these down to 8, then analyze the final 4 hybrids in the last episode, bringing forth the winner of this competition. To determine the hybrid spot in the final bracket, the hybrids will be placed in 4 separate groups, depending on their overall build, with Group A through C consisting only of same builds, and D being a mixture of the remaining 8 with different overall builds. This is to prevent a sauropod versus...
I actually made quite a few unique builds, if I'm gonna be honest. What DNA of your added current? The beast genome of my beast is actually that of the Fasolosu. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and make an image, but basically, I made a very massive quadrupedal tiger lizard. We'll get to that at the end of this video.
Sauropod or theropod versus theropod evaluation early on in the knockout rounds. A live drawing will be broadcast to all channel members, where we will live stream this drawing to determine which hybrids will stand off in the evaluation rounds. As this bracket closes in on the finalists, you'll find that we'll become even more harsh when evaluating these animals.
Oh boy.
Yes, even the final 16. The final will truly be the best out of the best at defeating the 2.0.
And I will be challenging that hybrid soon after, whichever it is.
Without further ado, let us begin with hybrid number 1, Predator Rex.
This
theropod hybrid submitted by Godzilla fan art can be described as a large but not oversized theropod, combining the traits of a variety of predators, modern and prehistoric. Also known as Vega, the hybrid marches into battle
Vega.
almost like a mirror of its opponent. Strong jaws, powerful limbs, armor, and venom all brought to bear. Looking at its genome and how they were used, this creature turns out being a highly resilient combatant with straightforward but practical weaponry. 9 contributors make themselves present, similar to that of the 2.0, using the real-life paleo-accurate T-Rex, Megaraptor, Utah Raptor, Komodo Dragon, Chimpanzee, Pangolin, Honey Badger.
I did see Pangolin, but yeah, speaking of that, I actually watched another hybrid from Goji Center talking about how they were trying so desperately to say that the T-Rex is actually poor eyesight. They forgot to account for the fact that they are actually using real life dinosaurs and all that, not Jurassic Park franchise. And following that logic, neither did I. So, yeah. That's it. Yeah, this is actually a very awesome creature so far.
Badger, vampire bat, and limpets. A combination of strong jaws and claws that was coupled with dexterous forearms that were built to cope with the size and strength. This hybrid will be placed on spot A1 and will patiently await its opponent in the evaluation round. Hybrid number 2, Monstratherium brutalis, with a name meaning brutal, monstrous beast. This creature stomps into the platform with a total of 9 genetic contributors, using the Megatherium and Shentungosaurus for build and size, chimpanzee, thylacoleo, domestic pig, Indian pangolin, African crested porcupine, scalyfoot gastropod, and limpets. This is the first chiefly mammalian hybrid on this list. This ground sloth on steroids combines raw power with the more armored skin and quills of pangolins and porcupines. Further augments by the massive Shentungosaurus help it cope with its large size and give it time to leverage its claws and teeth for their best use.
You know, I'm actually wondering if they're gonna... what program they're using for this. I mean, I wonder if these hybrids are gonna be on a poster. That sounds pretty cool. Hybrid War 2? Can we have Hybrid War 2 and posters?
Big reason why this creature was selected was an interesting detail that may or may not have been intentionally leveraged by its geneticist at Justabitotus. While studying the genome, we identified a big issue. Scalyfoot gastropod and limpets were seemingly a clever choice when using it to augment the armor of this animal. However, mentioning that this also reinforces the bones makes possible for this hybrid to suffer from blood poisoning from all the iron leaching into the bloodstream. Isolating this augmentation only to the skin and teeth could avoid this, but thankfully, apart from adding this buff to mostly the skin, the hybrid also contains domestic pig, contributing to its immune system and ability to reroute toxic buildups. This alone saved this hybrid. This non-sauropod heavyweight will await a rival competitor in spot D1. Time to look at one of the big hybrids of the final 16. Hybrid number 3, Armatus gigantus, the armored giant. Perhaps one of the simplest yet most effective genomes in this competition's sea of submissions, consisting only of Borealopelta, Stegoros, vampire bats, and Argentinosaurus as the base
contributors.
Genome. This creature submitted by geneticist Al Wall is the most straightforward example in this list of being simple but practical. This giant quakes the earth by stomping into the arena with surprisingly few augments. When the objective was just to put extra armor and spines along with the bolstered immune system of a vampire bat on top of the same genome this creature enjoys, you don't need much when building on top of possibly the most powerful land animal to ever exist.
You know, that's actually awesome. I'm gonna have to challenge myself to make a hybrid of only 4 contributors. I mean, this guy, whoever this guy is, did an amazing job.
The colossal titan that is Argentinosaurus. To fight anything, the objective is simple. It may not seem like the fastest, and it may take time to land any major hits, but with sheer bulk and armor, it might well weather the storm and lead to a literal crushing victory. This hybrid will sit and wait for the next round on spot B1. Number 4, Ceratops barbaricus. The savage lightning-horned face is our first ceratopsian to enter the final 16, consisting of Triceratops and Alamosaurus working together for base and size, Ankylosaurus, southern mammoth, Stagonelopus, Scelidosaurus, Pachycephalosaurus, Stegosaurus, Alamosaurus, beaded lizard, and common limpet. If there was anything in nature that could stand up to the Tyrannosaurus and win, it was a Triceratops. And the 66-million-year-old grudge is revived with this bruiser stepping into the ring in front of the 2.0.
I'm actually surprised that they didn't make a hybrid
brought us
with
an
a
augmented trike sporting a wide variety of armored dinosaurs to keep it protected from head to toe. Alamosaurus for mass and thermoregulation, Mexican beaded lizard for added defense, and interesting addition of venomous bite to a ceratopsian.
That's deadly combined with the beak.
Armor seems to be a common theme in the final 16, and rightly so. Hybrid number 5. The appropriately named Armored Titan may not have the plot armor Reiner enjoyed, but it might not even need that. The hybrid, brought by Connor the Dinosaur Man, comes stomping into the analysis platform with a modest number of 7 contributors. Diplodocus and Argentinosaurus for base and size,
some heavy
Armadillo
armor.
Lizard, Megatherium, Fruit Bat, Whiptail Lizard, and Tree Frog. The second sauropod Earthshaker on the list uses Diplodocus for reach and tail swing
I
speed,
understand
with
the
Argentinosaurus for added
lizard,
size and bulk. For close range, a set of
Frog?
sharp claws will make a crushing attack even more lethal and messy. Armored lizards and bat DNA add some valuable resilience inside and out. Whiptail lizard and tree frog mean that in isolation, the Titan could breed at alarming rates and limit the time it would be a vulnerable juvenile as long as sufficient food is laying around. The long neck was selected for being a versatile hybrid for its many methods of attack, but may not even need that many with an armored whip capable of cutting lesser animals in two. This hybrid will be placed on slot B2 and eagerly await the round of 16. Next up, one of the most creative designs on this list, hybrid number 6, the Spinovenator. Also known as Akira, the Spiny Hunter. Brought to us by Yokomation Studios, this hybrid consists of a genome that proves
definitely
that
looks
size
like a jackal
isn't
with
everything. Nape, weasel, leopard,
dinosaur jackal,
bat, grasshopper mouse, barn owl, North American porcupine, Cape porcupine, Kia parrot, and honey bat.
That's double spike. Literally. Let's see, we got a Megaraptoran, a weasel, jaguar, leopard, polyp bat, grasshopper mouse, barn owl. Probably to further enhance that hearing the sense of hearing. That's... And the honey badger's gotta be that extra immunity or something.
Badger. At only 6 tons, the fluffy assassin is a lot lighter than most other theropod entries. However, this particular attack methodology will prove that being lighter in this case may prove advantageous. Highly intelligent and equipped with the big clawed Mape, the most mega of all Megaraptors, weasels, panthers, and carnivorous grasshopper mice add on to the claws and teeth while giving Akira the ability to create its own painkillers to stay in the fight. Fluffy but armored, the 2 species of porcupine cover it in bristles and quills for added defense that pricks back. Akira will sit on spot A2, taking the 2nd spot in the group of theropods. Hybrid number 7 is a menace from another terrace. The Valkyriopteryx Hygeia is an example of how simple can also be dangerous and effective. And its creator Dionette being an example of a bold geneticist bringing a seemingly unconventional lightweight flyer into the arena. One that doesn't even weigh 1 full ton, but...
see? This is actually the body class I've chosen. The Flying Giant is what I have chosen. And I've also chosen others as well, so... Yeah, I'm glad Goji Center acknowledged that.
With an attack that can inflict a ton of force. The modified pterosaur is built upon the form of the most robust flying apex predator to ever live, Hatzegopteryx. And we appreciate avoiding using the overly used fanciful attack methods that could backfire, like spitting venom or burning acid.
Okay, yeah, they know. Goji Center knows. They know exactly what was going on. They definitely knew what... They definitely know that battle attack. So... Yeah, it's good to know that they acknowledged that. But I'm still gonna be using those. I know... Because it's effective, damn it.
Instead, the addition of pileated woodpecker helps reinforce the beak and skull for strong pecks that could potentially crack bone. Lappet-faced vulture helps to buffer up the immune system as well as ramp up aggression. The bald eagle gives the pterosaur an extra weapon most flying reptiles lacked by enhancing the leg muscles and giving it a set of talons across the feet whilst also enhancing vision. Finally, the streaked tenrec,
I chose the Hass Eagle for a similar reason.
Helps to bolster the defense with some strong but very lightweight quills. These quills also give it a unique war cry to confuse its enemy. While flying, this animal could produce a high-pitched sound called stridulation. This is the last sound many lesser animals will hear right before the pteroraptor lands on its prey and inflicts the first and final blow. The Valkyriopteryx will
pretty
perch
scary
on slot
sound.
D2. We have now reached the halfway point of the final 6.
That's actually not my hybrid, but whoever it was, definitely knew what they were doing. They definitely wanted something unique instead of a flying dragon. I mean, I wanted to make a dragon. I wanted to make dragons. Who doesn't want to make dragons? But anyway, I digress.
Number 8 is the complete opposite of a lightweight ambusher. The Pheropelta brings a large but relatively congruent gene pool of contributors whose main strategy against the 2.0 is defense. Geneticists Omega Pictures brought us a ceratopsian with an ankylosaurid base, almost a dozen other armored dinosaurs adding on to it. From deflecting armor of Gastonia...
Hold up. 16? Hold up.
Contributors whose main strategy against the 2.0 is defense. Geneticists Omega Pictures brought us a...
Hold on, I gotta... Let's see here. Ankylosaurus, Anodontosaurus, Gastonia. Lots of... Yeah, that's Ankylosaurid. So, ground pangolin. Yeah, I can see that. Long-tail pangolin, myland, triceratops scale, American alligator, busher, scarlet macaw, flashlight fish. Yeah, this guy... Yeah, I definitely see it. Yeah, there's a lot of contributors here.
Ceratopsian with an ankylosaurid base. Almost a dozen
16
other
contributors. That's actually the same number of contributors I've got for my Abaddon Dragon.
Dinosaurs adding on to it. From deflecting armor of Gastonia to the optimized tail club of Anodontosaurus. Other members of the genome increase defense, buff up the internal structure, the modern-day African bush elephant and macaw for increasing intelligence and decision-making, and Mylodon claws for better grounding and offense. Its stance is one of the best in the hybrid war, making it close to impossible to tip over or attack the belly of this beast. Pheropelta is the second and last ceratopsian to make it into the final 16, taking spot C2
but the most unique one, as far as I could tell.
Hybrid number 9's genome and the use of its genetic contributors wanted a spot on this final list. Nemifagax Eversur, the destroying nemesis eater. Brought forth by geneticists at Pixel Studios, this uncanny theropod of a different breed apparently never skipped arm day. While some dinosaur genes are present, the addition of Dinopyrus, Allosaurus annex, chimpanzee, and the giant baboon Dinopithecus left this contender seriously jacked, with talons for slashing and arms for grasping. Extra armor from the Ankylosaurus zool and the Chinese alligator help protect the flanks and major body parts, all while the Tyrannosaurus jaw structure combined with Acrocanthosaurus give it a muscular body and strong jaws. A unique and clever addition to Nemi was the use of Megalodon. Its cartilaginous aspect of the skeleton helps bolster the cartilage present on this hybrid, providing extra shock absorption and other benefits. Brawny and resilient, sheer strength helps make up for any decrease in agility. Nemifagax will back itself up into the third spot, A3 in the theropod build group of hybrids.
And before we continue, I just want to say again about how some critics of my dragon are trying to say how it's going to be confused. They actually made a video on that too, when they got called out. So, yeah, I've actually made a couple other hybrids anyway, because not only is it a little bit more fun, I actually because I was a little stressed out and didn't want to deal with all that. But after going through my hybrids list, that is still a lot, so I challenged myself to add fewer.
Another large animal present in this roster of hybrid monstrosities is hybrid number 10, Mundosaurus, geneticist LC99's hybrid. The universe
so like
reptile stomps into the competition with another small yet congruent genome, featuring the Apatosaurus, Shootosaurus, the well-known Argentinosaurus, Kentrosaurus, and a possum. This medium, or some would say a small sauropod, initially sounds like a bad idea compared to prior titans, but at 30 tons, Mundosaurus still has more than enough mass to throw around. The muscular Apatosaurus genome is back for revenge after what the Indominus Rex did in Jurassic World, granting it a body that is both brawny and yet with a huge reach. Taking on the tail-clubbed sauropod Shootosaurus for an optimal weapon and Argentinosaurus for bolstered size and armor, this hybrid has some fantastic congruency for picks within a single family. Kentrosaurus further adds to the armor on the outside, and an unexpected addition in the Virginia opossum gives resilience to both bacterial infections and venoms on the inside. Fun fact, these innocuous marsupials are actually extremely resistant to venom, able to hunt venomous snakes.
A lot of scavengers I've noticed have that immunity.
Completely immune to rabies and numerous other.
Maybe they want to make this hybrid play dead to full India, but I think it's a little too big to play dead.
Mundosaurus will take the third slot in the sauropods list on B3 and will await the next round to begin. The genome of hybrid number 11 is the definition of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Geneticist Nacho Pups brought us a highly congruent theropod with minimal additions with other sources. Theropod Rex, a combination of extremely agile Tyrannosaurus, lightweight but efficient armor from several types of Abelisaurs, and the claws and shredding teeth of several Carnosaurs.
Hold on, let's see. You already got, 3 Tyrannosaurs, 3 Allosaurs, orangutan. Huh. This guy's got 8 contributors. That's interesting.
Built on top of a Carcharodontosaurus-based genome, there is plenty of efficiency out of the gate. Dexterous arms from orangutans further help with grappling and leveraging those teeth and claws. Theropod dinosaurs dominated the big carnivore role in virtually every ecosystem for over 100 million years for a very good reason. Simplicity and practicality are some of the best policies in the Great Hybrid War. This hybrid snags the last spot in the theropod builds group, leaving only 5 spots left for the round of 16. Time to show a unique hybrid, and one that may come as a surprise to most people.
Looks like
maybe
a koala
even the creator-geneticist Chris Wobsevenson. Hybrid number 12, Gigantotherium. A name meaning gigantic beast may be more suitable for an animal other than an ape, especially given that these animals have some pretty strict limits on how large they could get. However, the creator cleverly found a workaround, using the monster sloth Megatherium as a base and Gigantopithecus for ape-like traits. This 8-ton Goliath is the genius bruiser of the competition. With multiple contributors for intelligence, such as elephants and orca, its combined instincts, if used correctly, could give it enough smarts to leverage weaponry granted from other contributors. All while flexible pangolin armor helps keep it defended from head to toe to weather hits as it bashes, bites, claws, and brings weapons to deadly purpose. If wielding the right weapon or tool and leveraging dexterity, this creature could pull off a surprising win against the Pale Menace. The ape hybrid will settle along with the other exotics in D3 and await the next round. Hybrid number 13 is a pleasant surprise.
I don't think it would. I didn't think it would after going through this,
into the platform.
But it's okay.
After the sauropod-like crocodilian.
Yeah, I'm not upset that my hybrid ever made it, but I will still keep the hybrid war going. I invite all of you to come at my hybrids. I will make them, and the hybrid war will forever go on.
relative Silosuchus, geneticist DB4's Lucanovenator is augmented with strong body armor from other crocodilian cousins and armored dinosaurs. Orangutan arms and intelligence round out a body bolstered with size and thermoregulation thanks to the Alamosaurus. Resilient, simple, agile, and practical with no major weaknesses. This hybrid combines surprising resilience with exceptional reach and agility. Armored and yet quick, it can both tank hits as well as go on the offensive with charges and swipes to either push forward with an offense or fall back on defending. Lucanovenator will fall to position on slot D4 and watch the last 3 hybrids take the remaining spots. The hybrid war was flooded with many unique submissions, but a hybrid that clawed its way to the final 16 with one of the few clever methods of inflicting venomous bites was number 14, Arctosaurus horridum. The bear reptile submitted by geneticist KC1401 actually uses the ancient croc cousin from the Mesozoic, the body of the biggest land predator the world had ever seen outside of dinosaurs, Phaselosuchus.
Phaselosuchus, yeah, that's actually the base genome of the hybrid I just made.
Tyrannosaurus rex and Kodiak bear further augment mass and muscularity.
And also the Tyrannosaurus. Let me just go ahead and, there we go.
Distribution along the body and jaws, increased senses, and those bear arms will be no joke at this scale.
I mean, if you got the claws for it.
DNA was added for a practical venom attack without having potentially breakable snake fangs. This creature's added benefit of scaly armor works in tandem with that of a Cuban crocodile to provide protection. The scrappy Wolverine further enhances its resilience, as well as those killer fangs. The robust brawler is not the largest, but definitely one who can swipe, claw, and wrestle before landing a devastating bite that just might refuse to let go.
Still equal size.
Its lighter weight helps this bruiser keep the agility it.
You know, this is actually this body plan right here is actually similar to the hybrid I just made. I am not revealing the name just yet, but there are a few contributors that I highly doubt anyone else has ever thought of. Moving on.
In a confrontation, the bear reptile takes slot D5 and patiently awaits its rival.
Oh, okay. Makes me wonder what your hybrid could look like if Goji Center had designed the hybrid for you. Oh, I am sure they would have designed something very unique. I mean, after looking through my hybrid, I would say it's almost like a very long-necked monitor lizard with maybe a giant Dimorphodon. Possibly.
There are only 2 spots left in the final 16, and now we'll reveal the last sauropod to squeeze into this group of powerful builds. Hybrid number 15, the Atherotitan Christus, aka Behemoth, name meaning Heavenly Titan of Christ. Submitted by geneticist
that's a religious
Asuarius,
name if I ever heard
this
it.
hybrid submitted what might have been one of the biggest entries to make it this far. A titan clad in spiny armor built upon the Argentinosaurus as well, Behemoth thunders into battle with a menagerie of extra armor from familiar sources. From the pangolin to the dwarf crocodile, and several types of ankylosaur for extra plating and spikes. It also has wedge-tailed eagle vision and flying fox traits that enhance its immunity to various bacteria and viruses. Being this heavy means sacrificing maneuverability. However, at this scale,
when you're
and
this
being
big,
this
you
well
just
defended,
need to
all
hit
of its
hard.
vitals are well off the ground, and any part in easy grabbing or biting range like the legs or belly is coated in defenses or spikes. Anything it crushes, it will destroy. The last righteous sauropod earns its spot in this group on slot D4, leaving only just one. You may have noticed that the last remaining slot resides in the Unique Builds group. This entry made it to this list not only because of its prowess and build, but to the merit of its creators, who decided to use an underrated herbivore family as the base, Hadrosaurs. Meet the last entry to the final 16, Yamabrontorax maximus, or as its creator geneticist Hardy Maximus names it, Gilgamesh. Believe it or not, this hybrid was built upon possibly one of the most powerful land animals to ever exist outside of the sauropod build, Shantungosaurus, an animal that almost perfectly hits the sweet spot between size and speed. Gilgamesh is agile enough to easily keep pace with faster opponents and press the attack, but having more than enough mass.
Hang on. I would guess the T-Rex was for the bite, but Western Gorilla? And Komodo Dragon. Probably to add venomous bite or immune system. But that is interesting.
Has to leverage its weight and power into crushing blows. What it lacks on major obvious weapons, raw force from impacts can more than make up for it. With long legs helping with a straightforward charge, the spiny armor further augments every blow and attack angle. In close quarters, these could prove devastating. Any attempt by a rival to grapple, restrain, pounce, or climb atop runs the heavy risk of getting thrown off and trampled before the body whips around for a crushing hit. These, ladies and gents, have been the top 16 entries of the first Hybrid War. Coming up, the 16 competitors will wait and see where they will be placed in the final bracket.
I'm actually wondering if this is going to be a yearly thing.
At a future date. The resulting bracket will be publicized and the real tournament will begin. First, narrowing the contenders to 8 hybrids that can fight the 2.0 more effectively and pull off more wins. As we move on to the grand finale, the final 4 will face serious scrutiny, laying bare their flaws and weaknesses that could cost them their life. At the end, only the strongest will rise victorious, marking the end of this hybrid war and the beginning of a new era.
The era of the hybrids. So, with that being out of the way, I did promise you guys that I would, in fact, create a new hybrid for you. And so I shall. Give me just 1 second to pull it up. And it's going to be... Behold! I give you the Glarongo Draco, or the Glarongosaurus. Yes, I actually named a massive beast after Glaurung from Lord of the Rings. A size of 30 to 40 feet long, 7 to 10 tons. Wait, no. Height of 7 to 10 feet in height, 2 to 5 tons, and a maximum speed of 20 miles an hour in short bursts, with the base genomes of the Phaseolasuchus, Thorny Devil, Megalania, Dinosuchus, Spinning Cobra, and Bombardier Beetle, naturally. But I've also added two big cats to the genome, and those being the tiger, because not only do I want it to be able to use its claws more effectively, I also wanted to have a very strong and intimidating roar, but I've chosen the leopard specifically because I actually wanted this thing to have a more specialized instinct to kill primates. Yes, primates. At the center, take a look at the Hybrid War Season 2. Yes, let's continue the Hybrid War. But anyway, moving on. I chosen the leopard because leopards are actually predators of various gorillas and chimpanzees. And there are those that have chosen to lengthen their arms using primate DNA. Leopard DNA would actually be a benefit because having that DNA is actually a natural predator against primate DNA. And I have also added the T-Rex DNA as well because I want to have it as very strong bite force. So added Volcano Snail for that extra body armor. And as you can see, I've actually added a few venom sacs on the shoulders, preventing any potential hazards against said fire breath. It'll actually be able to both roar at its opponents, use cheetah DNA with that extra speed. Well, the problem is that would actually cost it the power. So I've chosen the leopard instead because I actually wanted it to be more maneuverable and still pack a lot of muscle. And cheetahs are actually not that specialized against primates. They are actually too fast for their own good, and they're also very skittish. Giving leopard DNA would actually give it more muscle, maneuverability in any environment, including the driest of environments, and especially thanks to the Megalania and the Thorny Devil, that body armor is going to be very devastating, and it would also be actually pretty intimidating. It would make any hybrid think twice before taking a swipe at it. Adding the volcano snail DNA, that iron armor is going to be very hard to punch through. Hold on, let's see what would be very fast. Yeah, it would still be very fast. Being 20 miles an hour, since it's a quadruped, and still maintain good balance. And of course, the tiger DNA would actually allow it to get on its hind legs for a short period of time to use its claws. And the T-Rex DNA would actually further bolster that bipedal stance. It just won't be doing it very often. But Glarong is a beast you do not want to mess with. I'll be giving you a scenario, so... Well, cheetahs actually run up to 70 miles an hour. Yes, but at the cost of power. I want this thing to be powerful, ruthless, and a good tracker. It actually has both a great sense of smell from the nose and a forked tongue, allowing it to go into specific details as to where the direction the target is coming from. So, it may not be the fastest. It's equal in size against the Indominus 2.0, but it has a lot more weapons, giving it the thorny tail from the Thorny Devil DNA itself, and the Monitor Megalania DNA by itself would already allow it to swing its tail like a baseball bat. Adding those spikes from the Thorny Devil would actually make it a lot more painful. And the Spinning Cobra and Bombardier Beetle DNA would further boost it in weaponry, allowing it to blast fire. Let's see. So now you have two hybrids that are dragons, but made up of dinosaur and animal DNA. Actually, no. You see, I actually have 3 different dragons. Let me introduce you the Abaddon 2.0, which is actually fewer than the last time. Let me read over the list real quick. Meet my Abaddon 2.0. For the base genome I've chosen is the Hatzegopteryx. The same thing, except this time I've made fewer contributors. Instead of the Komodo dragon DNA that I've chosen last time, I have chosen the Cinerethosaurus DNA because this one is a fighting dinosaur, very similar to a Microraptor, but also has a delivery system of venom very similar to the Komodo dragon. So it does have a venomous bite. Adding to the Spinning Cobra and Bombardier Beetle naturally, of course, allows that projectile attack. And I've also added the Pteranodon DNA for for extra airtime, and the Dimorphodon specifically for the head design, the American Crow for problem solving, the Argentavis for the boosted immune system, and the Common Shrew for those iron teeth, and the venom, and the high, as well as the high metabolism, giving it much more speed, greater reflexes, and a much more voracious appetite. So, there you go, Mason. I hope you enjoyed this hybrid. I looked through it, and I admit I did make quite a few contributors, but this is fewer, but it still has the firepower to back that up. And I've also made nope, that's not it. Definitely not it. No, that's for later. Where is it? Is this it? Oh. Hold on. Nope. Nope. Doop. Boop. Hold on, let me find it. There was actually a smaller hybrid. Let's see. Where did I put it? Sorry, I'm trying to find it. Aha! Here it is. And it is the Dracoraptor. I would say probably the fastest hybrid I have yet made. And also the smallest, about the size of a Deinonychus, but with a body plan of a Microraptor. But believe it or not, I actually did not use Microraptor DNA. I actually used the Changyu Raptor DNA, which is actually a relative of the Microraptor, but actually a much bigger one, and has powered flight. Further enhanced by the Hass Eagle and Argentavis, and the Cinerinthosaurus for the venomous bite, the American Crow for the intelligence and problem-solving ability, the Hare's Hawk for making it a much better attack weapon, for making it not only a vicious bird of prey, but also allows it to be a much more sociable hunter. So it can attack both as an individual as well as in packs. So, yeah, a flying predator that's about the size of a Jurassic Park raptor, covered in feathers and capable of killing humans. That's pretty terrifying. And hunting in packs? Yeah, no dinosaur is safe with this thing around if it's flying in packs. On top of that, I also added osprey DNA, on top of the usual bombardier beetle and spitting cobra, because, yeah, I made this a fire-breathing hawk. But I've also added sea crate DNA for the extra boost of venom, making it much more potent per bite. But the method of biting, of course, is going to be basically the similar ability of the Komodo dragon. Hence the front DNA of the Cinerinthosaurus, but I've also added shrew DNA as well for iron teeth and iron claws. So you've got a flyer that is got the wingspan of about 25 feet long, 25 feet. Another secondary pair of wings that's about 8 feet wide, giving it better maneuverability, able to climb trees, being only about 100 pounds, a Spitfire range of 15 to 30 feet, and a minimum speed of 80 miles an hour, and and being about 15 feet long. So, this is a very dangerous aerial assassin. If it's not capable of killing the Indominus 2.0, the Indoraptor 2.0, it would not stand a chance. I mean, as I said, which is why I've chosen the Spitting Cobra and Bombardier Beetle, even though it was addressed by the by Goji Center, saying how it can potentially backfire. I would assume there are various methods of keeping the venom safe from keeping those chemicals separately. And of course, this predator is a very dangerous assassin. So, thank you, Mason Maker. I actually made 2 dragons that could take on the Indominus 2.0. Even though I did not win the contest, but oh well. That is why I have made these monsters. That is what we're here for. And of course I've also created other hybrids, but anyway, I want to move back on to another video, which brings me to... Oh, where is it? Someone tried to school me on... this video I'm gonna show you guys is... Someone actually tried to school my hybrid, trying to criticize how many hybrids I've got. Well, you've seen in the first video, someone actually made a whole bunch of video trying to say that my hybrid is simply too badly confused. Well, let's take a look at what they have to say about this video. And I'll be bringing up points that actually say otherwise. Although in agreement, I will say I did make a few too many things. But here was my method of what I was trying to make my Abaddon Dragon out. Alright, I bet you used my DNA to make this hybrid, which makes this hybrid is sort of like... Hey now, let's not bring family into this. Anyway, moving on to the school.
They try and ground it with some realism, and we're going to try and do exactly the same thing to debunk this Indominus Rex 3.0. But remember, 70% of this genome is made up of small animals, so the 30% of the T-Rex and the Saurophaganax are not going to off-put that. But it's going to go berserk, turn into some type of sociopath.
That's the same point that my critics actually tried to say, that it's too confused and too contributing and won't exactly know what to use. Well, let's go ahead and have you take a seat.
Then the original Indominus Rex would probably be around the size of a velociraptor. It's a natural predator to a great area is weakness to humans. They've used the Saurophaganax clearly for its teeth, the serrated jaws. So the genomes here, they're non-aggressive. Huge weakness to human pathogens. Indominus Rex 3.0. 3.0 is exactly the same as the 2.0.
Indominus 3.0.
Well, looks like this just keeps happening, and people never learn. If there are any 2 words the internet has ruined when it comes to debates, it's, well, actually, but looks like it's our
that's
turn.
exactly
because
how it
someone
feels.
wanted to weigh in on the hybrid that the internet has collectively decided to try and kill. Someone thought they were onto something and thought they could seriously school Goji Center about our own creation before throwing their own name into the ring. Our response? Take a seat. You might learn something for your own
what
creations.
I used.
Because today on Goji Center, class is once again in session. The report in scrutiny for today, a video published by YouTuber Shadows, who made a few...
And it's a similar thing to my critics. For the sake of this live stream, I'm just gonna call you Shadows as well. So, Shadows, take a seat.
statements that cannot be forgiven. Shadow's video tackled the subject from an interesting angle. Granted, the Jurassic franchise has always had a fickle relationship with realism. On one hand, the animals involved are supposedly to be completely normal flesh and blood animals. On the other hand, some amount of fantasy for the sake of spectacle is always to be expected in fiction. Still though, there's always going to be limits when you're not talking about something with flat-out kaiju like the Godzilla franchise. When we began talking about and introducing our own hybrids back in 2023, it was common consensus amongst everyone watching that hybrid creation like this in the real modern-day world is flat out impossible due to many real-life genetic hurdles that need to be bypassed. That is, being able to extract DNA from extinct species that died off millions of years ago. Beyond that, the next challenges would be selecting genetic contributors that will mostly positively create a build for a brand new animal with a specific purpose, which in the 2.0's case is to create a primarily terrestrial creature whose purpose is to act as a localized extinction event, driven to wipe out entire ecosystems, including all life forms, and reproduce quickly to attain said goal. That's it! We've been pretty clear about that from the start, and if you've been carefully following this hybrid fiasco, you'd probably know this quite well. Unlike Shadows, who probably skimmed through plenty of videos and posts that mentioned this repeatedly. And for
Yep, and obviously his research team actually tried to dissuade, said I had too many, which I, after going through it, did make myself... Actually did acknowledge there are a lot of contributors, but there are complementary contributors.
For some odd reason, kept calling it 3.0? It was at this point when we knew this was going to be fun. Come on, dude, it's 2.0. Where did the 3 come from? This, maybe?
Good question.
Anyone who actually watched the video would know the 3.0 is completely unnecessary. Additionally, before revealing their creation like other infamous examples like Goji Guy's Hank and Dangerville's Primatus, Shadows thought it would be a good idea to nerf the 2.0 as much as they could by trying to smack it with the realism stick.
That's exactly what my critics tried to do. Yeah, you tried to say there are a lot of say it would be too confused. No, I didn't. There would be too many. There aren't that many contributing confusions. I mean, you know what? I'm just gonna let Goji Center explain his methods, which is what methods I've used in similar context.
So let's investigate some of the claims before we completely debunk these statements.
No, you could say destroy, because I did the same thing.
And
that's
at the
okay.
end, we'll see who wields this metaphorical stick better.
Yep.
One of the bold claims that Shadows put forth is that the 2.0 would be far smaller than the Indominus Rex, producing some graphs claiming that the 2.0 was a runt, also mentioning that the large size of the Indominus Rex was due to Giganotosaurus and additional big-bodied species in the genome including Tyrannosaurus and Deinosuchus. With the Giga additive removed from the 2.0 and the Deinosuchus swapped out with the African dwarf crocodile for more armor, the claim was that the small species like short-tailed shrew would shrink the 2.0 down to being a fraction of the size of the original.
And let's also not forget the fact that they were talking about conflicting instincts. I do not recall there are too many conflicting instincts here. Yeah, there are a lot of conflicting instincts, but I've had complementary instincts.
Except they seem to have forgotten something. Them. Contrary to other claims, viewers who remember our size chart videos might recall that Tyrannosaurus Rex currently holds the spot as the largest predatory dinosaur. Giganotosaurus is certainly up there as well, and any hybrid using a lot of one or both of them is going to wind up huge. Shadows claims that because shrew is in the genome, its contribution would be enough to shrink the 2.0 down to halfway point. And also keep in mind what they're using as a basis is Jurassic World's logic. So here's how this goes.
Don't always have the answers all the time. That is true. They really don't. I mean, they try to dissuade mine, saying how it's talked about in realism, which I still don't think is... I still think they were just salty, but I did so just because I didn't want to argue too much. Plus, I wanted to see what I could do with fewer contributors.
Under this logic, assuming that the 2.0 should be the size of a velociraptor, the Indominus Rex, on the other hand, would technically also be reduced greatly. The use of cuttlefish, pit viper, frog would also shrink the Indominus. But did it? No.
See? Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of. Yeah, that's kind of what I was going for. Yeah, that's the same logic I was going for.
The argument against this is that the Indominus Rex does have a greater number of larger animals in its genome. T-Rex, Dinosuchus, Giga, Therizinosaurus. But what Shadows doesn't seem to get is that these things do not affect the size of a hybrid as you think it does. One of the reasons is that when building a hybrid, step number 1 is always choosing a base genome. This base genome is largely going to establish how large and what body type your hybrid will mostly resemble. What Shadows thinks we did, and everyone who participated in the hybrid war did, was that we all put animals in a blender and every creature contributed an equal amount to the animal's genome, which cannot be more wrong. The 2.0...
See? I said, yeah, and that's the same, those are the same points I pointed out. Yeah, the base genome was Megalania and the Hatzegopteryx, having the body of a pterosaur and other complementary instincts, allowing it to fly, having it the ability and instinct to fly. So, yeah, that's why I was choosing all those things. Everything else was just to further enhance the other traits. And generally speaking, all of them are vertebrates.
For example, uses the base genome of T-Rex. According to more recent studies, it is now well established that T-Rex could in fact reach the size of 42 feet in length, with very few exceptionally large individuals probably breaching these sizes. So the length of the 2.0, regardless of the absent Giga, is still very much supported, which is the same case of the Indominus Rex. Had Shadows actually paid attention in our video introducing the 2.0, he'd know very well that the 2.0 was actually shrunk in size in comparison to a full-grown Indominus Rex. A sweet spot to better hunt down animals of smaller size classes, but retaining enough mass to take down the big ones. The extra additions such as longer ape arms, full body armor, shorter hind limbs, and Shrew's iron-covered teeth were all possible thanks to advanced gene editing technology.
Which is the same method I have been using.
Seen in Jurassic World, but believe it or not, a form of this actually exists in real life. To further explain this, we won't use Jurassic Park's logic anymore. We'll go further. We'll use real-life examples.
Yep!
What you're looking at right now is a glow-in-the-dark cat. Thanks to real-life gene editing technology, geneticists were able to select a few genes from a jellyfish and add them to the cat's genome that builds the skin on the face of this cat. Now, it doesn't take a genius to realize the majority of this animal's genome is made up of house cats, not jellyfish. This kitty is not about to sprout stingers or need to live in water. Also, did the kitten shrink or increase in size? No. See?
See? Yeah, I mean, yes, I did admit, I did count on the different contributors I did. I'm so sorry I did not go into specific details about the Abaddon Dragon. I was a little bit in a hurry, and my brain was not working at the time, but that was where my thinking process was. It was not, I was not using everything equally. That I was actually choosing base genomes, and everything else was just add-on.
Careful, meticulous gene splicing is a real thing. And the reason this cat is the same size of a regular house cat is the same reason why the Indominus Rex turned out to be 40+ feet in Jurassic World. And also why the 2.0, despite having small animals in its genome, is not the size of a raptor. So instead of splicing huge chunks for every genetic contributor in, the 2.0 was made by taking a real, biologically accurate Tyrannosaurus and swapping in different sized pieces of DNA depending on what was needed. This is how you make a hybrid.
See? There you go. That was where my method was. Yeah, I was actually taking notes here. Thanks, Goji Center.
not throwing everything in a blender, which is what the folks at Shadows are failing to understand. Note how the smaller gene sources for the 2.0 were largely restricted to isolated body parts, like the arms, teeth, skin, and egg-producing organs. Keep this in mind as we continue to revise Shadow's wild claims.
I mentioned instincts before, and it's definitely confused and all that, but yeah. Moving on.
Shadows tried to make a big deal about claiming the great ape DNA would be some kind of hidden weakness. Namely, that great apes have weak immune systems, and that they become violent and sociopathic when left alone. So the resulting hybrid would be a chaotic mess of a brute. At this point, the web has been flooded with horror stories, and a certain scene from Nope making it look like some of our nearest relatives turn into berserk psychopaths at the drop of a hat. Here's the reality check. Great apes, and especially chimpanzees, are not orcs. Chimpanzees can absolutely be violent. Just ask the various monkeys and game they dispatch. But has anyone else ever noticed the horror stories going around the web are always the same 3 cases over and over again? To give the Cliff Notes 2023 reevaluation by anthropologist and war expert R. Brian Ferguson found that some of the Gombe chimpanzee wars casualties were probably the result of leopard attacks. The infamous face ripper Travis, for example, was a drugged animal kept in horrid conditions. And if anyone wants to bring up the attack at the animal sanctuary, we dare you to take a good look at the humans who targeted that couple after the fact and tell us the chimps were the only brutal ones here. Now, compare that to the thousands of other chimpanzees that are raised in isolation that didn't act out. If bad living conditions automatically turned chimpanzees into chaotic brutes, we'd be seeing attacks all the time. What Shadows tried to do in saying the 2.0 would be a senseless brute was take a tiny substrata of evidence and label every single chimpanzee in both the wild and captivity as a senseless maniac. This dude owes chimpanzees a public apology.
Agreed. And the conflict, yeah, that's the same thing about, I'm actually glad they brought this, even though it was indirect, it still brings up the point about the instincts about being all confused and all that conflicting. There's again, that does not mean it does not mean that it would be confused just because there are small percentages of different DNAs.
The truth is that yes, chimps can be violent, but they aren't really psychos. They definitely aren't more psychotic than a lion or a horse, animals that kill more humans annually than chimps. Now, if we wanted the 2.0 to be as berserk as possible, putting it in the same enclosure that the Indominus Rex lived in would get that job done. But nowhere in any of our previous videos did we mention that the 2.0 was kept in such conditions.
That's true.
There was an awful lot of supposing going on in a video
That's
claiming
the
to dissect
same
something.
thing that
One
I've
of the key
had to
points
go
was
through.
that the 2.0 would be another basket case of mishmash traits like the Scorpius Rex. Issues were brought up like the Tyrannosaur DNA screwing up the eyesight or whiptail lizard contribution leading it to drop its tail in the worst way possible, severely compromising it. In other words, a self-owning by the hybrid's own genome. Unfortunately for Shadows, this is not the case of the 2.0 electrocuting its own brain with zappy fish DNA like some Hall of Shame entries. Let's go through these claims one by one.
Here, the reason I have chosen from the list of the Abaddon Dragon was not just selected out of random, and y'all are trying to say that I didn't do my research. Well, I actually did, and I knew exactly why I have chosen each individual species. We'll be going back to my video as soon as this video is done.
Because, boy, there are a lot of them.
Also added the whiptail lizard in. Again, that's presumably because the whiptail lizard can regenerate cells. I mean, the whiptail lizard drops its tail. Literally can.
The whiptail lizard, according to Shadows, was added for regeneration and claimed it would affect the tail in falling.
If he wanted to do that, he would have chosen axolotl DNA. Makes me think that Shadows overcooked the fact that overlooked the one fact they missed. Goji Center based their on actual science and information on real animals because they paid attention.
Off. This
Exactly.
is something they made up out of thin air. Recall that the other genome additions were meticulously selected from each contributing animal. The only reason the whiptail lizard makes itself present in the 2.0's genome is for its sexual organs. The ability to reproduce asexually via apomictic parthenogenesis. This allows the 2.0 to reproduce exact copies of herself repeatedly without needing a mate. And that's it. Let's see what else Shadow's made up.
Couple it with the T-Rex's poor eyesight.
With the T-Rex's poor eyesight,
Real
The
life,
eyesight.
dude!
Here's yet another reminder that the 2.0 was not made with any dinosaurs from the Jurassic Park franchise. This one was made from real-life animals. This makes Shadow's claim that the eyesight of the 2.0 would be messed with obsolete. And even if it was a JP T-Rex that we used, note how this didn't even affect the original Indominus Rex or Indoraptor.
Comparing the original and the 2.0/3.0, you'll notice a stark contrast. It's missing several dinosaurs. In fact, the 2.0 has only 9 species of genome, where the original actually has 13. They decided to take out the Therizinosaurus, the Deinosuchus, the Giga, the Carno, the Ragop.
Next, the claim that the lesser number of genetic contributors in the 2.0 was a handicap couldn't be further from the truth. Let us introduce Shadows with a new word: congruity. Put very simply, the less contributors that share more characteristics, the better. In 2.0,
And after looking through that, that was kind of my handicap. I was trying to add a few contributors that actually complement each other. That's where the matter of fact, let me pull up my video right here. Let's see here. Aha! Yep, right here. The base genomes, yeah, I should have been a little bit more specific. I should have just written contributors or genomes. The base genome I've chosen is the Hatzegopteryx, which is where the body plan would be, but I've chosen Megalania for the head and biting, serrated bite and venom, as well as the tail, so you could say there's 2 contributors. And I actually have about 8 contributors out of the 16 that I have chosen right here. So let's count. Let's go ahead and count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 8 contributors that actually contribute to the flying abilities out of 16. So it does have the ability. So it's got the hovering ability of the Osprey and the impact absorption of the Gannet, allowing it to give impact, allowing it to strike with high speed. And as well as the Talons, thanks to the Haas Eagle and Argentavis, as well as the Osprey. And furthermore, the Vampire Bat would have allowed it to have heat vision, as well, and of course the Sea Crate would allow it to have the ability to use more potent venom, and the crocodile DNA I've specifically chosen only for the immune system. And of course, a platypus DNA as well. I've only chosen that because of to further enhance those talons. That's it. So, with that being said, there's no so if we was to put that in a graph, it would be the Megalania and Hatzegopteryx combined, it would be most likely 70%, like 63% Hatzegopteryx, it would be well over 30% Hatzegopteryx. Yeah, it would mostly be made of Hatzegopteryx DNA. Actually, about just under half, give or take, of Hatzegopteryx. Everything else would be making that up. I would say about 45% Hatzegopteryx. Everything else would be filling their roles specifically. This would be about the second place. And the only reason I've chosen Utahraptor is to allow it to use its wings for use its claws for a better attack, as well as the sawing ability. That's just about it. That's pretty much all I've ever chosen. May need a real shake. Are not on the edge. That is true. That's pretty much ironic. It's the same logic here. This is actually why I wanted to show this video to further explain what I had in mind right here. Yeah, the only reason I've chosen Raven and Crow is because that brain-solving ability, but it would also have the ability to scavenge and be more capable of resisting those poisons, and further enhances the flying instinct. And of course, there's also the Vampire Bat combined with the Arapaima. The only reason I've chosen the Arapaima was because of those scales, being both flexible and very durable. Yeah, and the Vampire Bat I've chosen for the flying instinct, the ability to jump, have a standing jumping takeoff, and also allowing it to distribute the blood and make the scales deposits for that iron. That's it. So yeah, even though there's a lot here, about 16, that's 16 contributors. There's still a lot of complementary contributors. So, yeah, nice try, all you critics out there. But moving on further to the conclusion.
2.0's case, 8 out of 9 of the contributors are vertebrates. 7 out of 9 have 4 limbs. 9 out of 9 dispatch prey with their hinged jaws. 5 out of 9 of them use their forelimbs for attack or locomotion. And the similarities go on and on. And every one of these animals contributed only what is required to make the 2.0 functional, with a larger percentage of them with agreeable instincts. For instance,
see? Agreeable instincts. The ability to fly. Use its bite for an attack. And so many of them using claws.
Dwarf crocodiles are known to be very reclusive around humans, simply because we aren't on the menu and weight class. Shadows claimed that these are very passive, but try telling that to the reptiles, small mammals, and crustaceans it eats all the time.
Uh-huh. See? And I've chosen the shrew for not only the ability for the iron teeth, but also the high metabolism. So the claws also can be a deposit for iron.
Give this animal a larger body and this thing would be a Caprasuchus reincarnated hunting us instead. This animal hunts on land more often, similar to the 2.0, does not use the death roll like other species, and of course comes with the perk of full body armor, which is why this animal was picked over another larger croc with more conflicting instincts. Next up is the utter disrespect on the short-tailed shrew. This animal, if you remember correctly, and paid attention, was used primarily for its iron-ingrained teeth, venomous saliva, and thrashing jaw motion when attacking, which works in tandem with the T-Rex's bite and very strong, deep-rooted teeth.
Same reason I've chosen the Mangalania. Iron teeth, venomous bite, but for the shrew, higher metabolism.
They've used the Saurophaganax clearly for its teeth, the serrated jaws.
No, this doesn't have Saurophaganax serrated teeth as Shadow so boldly claimed. We never said it did. The addition of the shrew did come with some attributes that initially may seem as drawbacks, but given the intended purpose of this animal, which is to kill everything, this is actually a good thing.
Let's hope you have a Goji Center design hybrid for you as a gift for supporting their channel. Well, he would have to watch my videos, if I'm gonna be honest. I mean, I don't know, I don't know if I actually submitted it to the right place, but maybe next time, assuming the hybrid war continues.
Higher metabolism requires this creature to hunt more often and store its prey once it goes catatonic to eat for later.
So them great ape arms we can see on there wouldn't be all that big. They wouldn't even have them claws. Sure, they'd be quite muscular, but they wouldn't have them claws on the end of it. But we can say that comes from the Velociraptor.
Shadows completely misunderstood the composition of the 2.0's arms, claiming that the arms would be small on a small hybrid, which we debunked this already, and that this thing won't have claws, which we clearly stated in the original video featuring the 2.0 that these came
that's
from
where the
Saurophaganax,
Saurophaganax claws
or
came
currently
into play.
classified as Allosaurus anax indefinitely, not from a Velociraptor. The use of Great Ape for the 2.0 was for the following: providing fast twitch muscles for the enlarged arms, extra digits including a thumb for manipulating objects and using tools, and for an enhanced level of problem solving and intelligence, fully bolstered by T-Rex collaborative nature and heightened senses.
And it will die.
One of the wildly preposterous claims that sent ripples across Goji Center HQ was this one. One of the advantages of this hybrid and having a large dinosaur biology is resilience to smaller, lesser mammalian viruses. The statement that apes are highly vulnerable to a sneeze, for instance, would hold up had this creature been made up of mostly mammals with a predominant mammalian anatomy. This, however, isn't the case. The flesh and bone that makes up most of this hybrid is similar to that of a T-Rex, and the 2.0 influence of ape in the brain and arms isn't enough for it to be a detrimental kryptonite factor on its saurian immune system. Besides, apes are already more resilient than people might think, with faster acting immune response.
I mean, it's natural. I mean, if you live out in the wild, of course you're gonna expect more pathogens. You're gonna be expecting more viruses, poisons. I mean, one scratch is a very high risk of infection.
Than most mammals. Additionally, the hybrid wouldn't have the compressed sinuses and snout that leads to infections apes like us might get. And any issues that do exist can be patched up by the dwarf croc and dinosaurian biology that is heavily resilient to mammalian viruses. The 2.0 was made to be a great carrier of various viruses, able to survive holding those infections for a long time thanks to not being as badly affected as other animals. It might inevitably die after a long time once a strain mutates in such a way that it will prove lethal, but not before acting as a horrible bridge to so many pathogens for anything that came across it. We could keep going, but we covered just about all the big crazy claims mentioned in Shadow's deplorable demonstration of his understanding of the 2.0 and really hybrids in general. That hybrid they're making with human DNA? Well, all of you know where we're sending that hybrid.
All right. And that is pretty much the same kind of problem I had to deal with. Yeah, let me go ahead and find this guy's hybrid real quick. Let's go ahead and do this. Where did his response? Yeah, where did it? All right, yeah, let's go ahead and... Yeah, this is my official response to you, sir.
Hello, everyone. It's me, Alpha G. I know it's been some time since I haven't been uploading because I'm sorry. Utah.
Let's see. Yeah, he's got the thing right. Let's see. Megalania, Hexagraptorix. Which again, I've chosen specifically in percentages, not equal blending. If you actually watched Goji Center's explanation, that is the method I was using. So, if anything, the Hexagraptorix would be a much higher percentage. It would actually be the base body, not to mention the Megalania would only be second, Utahraptor being third, and just about everything else would be much higher for their specific traits that I have chosen.
Raptor has eagle, vulture, cobra. Looking at this hybrid, I'm sorry, young guy, but I have to state some of the facts about this hybrid of yours. Your hybrid is gonna break down, and you're probably wondering why. Well, it's
Yeah,
because
tell us.
this hybrid in general is not going to be able to survive, and Mason doesn't need an upgrade to fight this hybrid.
Break down how? You didn't say, what do you mean by break down? First of all, it is designed to be a flying machine. It is more 50% of flying ability. Almost all of the contributors are vertebrates. And and again, the percentages I have chosen is actually much higher. But continue
He's already
on.
strong enough to take on this hybrid of yours. Let me state out the weaknesses of this hybrid of yours. Your hybrid is too heavy to fly, because
The heaviest flying predator, the flyer, is actually Hatzegopteryx, which is well over 600 pounds, while my hybrid is only about, hang on, where is it? Weighs about 300 pounds. So, that's actually a lot lighter than the heaviest flying reptile, despite having a much bigger wingspan and having the proportions I have chosen. So, no, it is not too heavy to fly. It actually has a wingspan of well over 35 feet long and a body that is proportionally smaller, so it's mostly wing, if not tail and head. But proceed.
having these type of genetics of putting that on a hybrid would not only confuse it, but it wouldn't even know what it is. This is the same problem.
That's every hybrid that you can. If you actually watched Goji Center's video about his methods, one would argue that the various contributors, like the cave, if you looked at the original Indominus, you would see that the tree frog, the pit viper, and the cuttlefish would, if by your logic, would actually mean that they would be confused. So confused, but that did not happen because that is not how DNA works.
That the Indominus Rex had from the Jurassic World movie. Not only that, but some of the parts of the bones, the hollow parts of the bones in Pacifica will have some weight limits to it. And adding dense reptiles would
It would mostly be hollow bones, like pterosaurs and the birds of prey that I have chosen. And the gannet would actually allow it to be a much better swimmer. That's why I have chosen the gannet. It would be better at taking impacts.
bulk it really too much. So this hybrid would not be able to fly. And I'm sorry, but I have to be real about this.
No, you're not. That's just an opinion. You have forgotten the laws of biomechanics. That's what I have been taking into account. And the confusion thing, that's not how DNA works. I did not choose things at equilibrium.
Not only that I had to go over all of this, but I had to make sure that you did your research right, because if you didn't, you need to improve on that.
And after looking through that, I do admit I made too many contributors, which is why I've made a challenge for myself to make them that much fewer contributors. So yeah, 16 is a lot, but I've reduced it to a much fewer number. You can check the link in the description for what I have chosen.
Make like an upgrade version or something that it can make it fly more. That way it doesn't have to be so heavy with all this genetics that you put it in.
You forget that you have to understand how the weight actually works. The dragon I created actually uses more Hatzegopteryx DNA.
There's some good news, and there are some bad news, which is probably the walking portion and the balance issue with the hybrid genetics, especially having that long neck of his and the balancing uprights, which will cause this hybrid with some issues.
Quadrupedal stance and the long tail, that actually would make it much better at keeping itself on the ground. Second, having long necks on the Hatzegopteryx, the proportions of that still give it a much better strike. Plus, it having a long neck actually balances out the tail.
But don't worry, this hybrid is still able to swim and all that stuff, but its wings will be a very liability. So I'm
Wrong. Flight. It's mostly wing. And it's actually got a proportionally small torso. And the balancing from the tail and neck actually allow it to stay aerodynamic.
I'm sorry that I have to say this, but your hybrid has too many issues, and especially having these genetics of its intelligence and adding cobra aggression and crocodile.
Again, that is not how DNA works. You're trying to say that if I have too many contributors, that there are too many conflicting instincts. That is not how DNA works. Again, bringing up the Indominus example, if that were the case, that would mean that the Indominus would instinctively try to hop like a tree frog or slither like a snake. But does it do that? No, because there are way more contributors that are based on the theropod genome. My hybrid is mostly that of the flying genome. So, matter of fact, let me go ahead and pull up that video again. Let's see here. Let's see. Out of all the contributing vectors that I have chosen, let me count again with a flying. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, wait. No, that's actually. I said 8. Oh, God. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, I've got 9 out of 16 that are capable of flight. And that's out of 16. So, there are way more instincts that are allowing it to fly. I have chosen the crocodile specifically, crocodile and sea crate, making it allow to use its tail more to be able to swim. The gannet and osprey actually allow it to flap its wings whilst in the water. My hybrid is actually more designed to be a flying, killing machine. So it's going to be more likely to rule the skies. So, a lot of opinions, but there's no schooling this.
Dial patients and whatnot. This would also not only confuse the animal, but it would, how do I say this? Overstimulate / paranoid this animal.
That is not how DNA works. Just because you place DNA in something does not mean that it would have the instincts. Like how Goji Center talked about the real-life genetics, there are actually various species of creatures that glow in the dark. But the glowing gene is actually from jellyfish. But specifically what the Goji Center used specifically is the glow-in-the-dark cat. But the thing is, with those cats, they actually, the only thing that actually indicates that they actually have jellyfish DNA is the fact that they have the ability to glow in the dark. But does that mean they have are sprouting tentacles or stingers on their fur? No, because that's not how DNA works. And does that also mean that they are entirely reliant on water? No, because these cats are not 50% jellyfish. It is just a small portion of that DNA. If anything, those cats would be more like 99.9% cat. Another example would be goats that actually have actually been genetically modified to allow it to produce spider silk. But does that mean those goats actually have 8 legs and walk on the walls? No, because that is not how DNA works. If anything, those species would be more like 99.9% goat. In the case of my hybrid, however, it is quite a mishmash, but the base genome would be the Hatzegopteryx, making it a much bigger flyer and also a much more durable creature whilst on the ground. And that obviously there are a lot of contributors. However, the equal pie method that you seem to be thinking about is not how hybrids are made. If you watch Goji Center's video right here, link in the description, you would understand the method that I have used.
Because of its other genetics that you combined it with, which would not only confuse this animal, but also make it very paranoid to its surroundings and whatnot. Especially when it comes to having this type of genetics that you put it in. Especially for the strengths and weaknesses. The strengths are, well, aquatic ambushes,
it would actually be flight, and it would actually not be as good of a swimmer as I previously thought. But the reason I have chosen the crocodile DNA specifically is only for the immune system. And the Megalania, being a monitor lizard itself, would actually further enhance that, and also having lightweight armor.
Venom Verity is good, intimidation with the wings and all that stuff, and
at least you acknowledge that. It is a very terrifying display. But, don't forget, it still has powered flight.
Smart and burst, but the weaknesses are the overload body, unstable behavior, low endurance.
No, it will not be overloaded based on different behaviors. It would be simply to, there are a lot of congruent different instincts that it would have, because over half of the genome that I have chosen all have flying capabilities.
On land, and it won't be able to fly. Even if it tried to fly, it will end up killing itself.
Lies! Again, over 50% of the genome that I have chosen are all flying creatures. And if anything, those other forms of all those other genomes that I have chosen would actually have a much smaller percentage. So it would not only, I did not choose it based off of equal 50-50, the proportions and the percentages of those genetic genomes would be much more in favor of the flying contributors.
And I'm being very real about this because I have to state
No, you're not.
a lot of facts about this hybrid of yours.
Opinions. Not facts, opinions.
So, this is why I have to state the facts about a hybrid, because if you're going to make a very strong and very durable hybrid, you need to do your research right, because if you don't do your research right with your hybrids and all that stuff, your hybrid will not always be able to do this or that.
I think Goji Center would actually have a lot of words with you, sir. You and your friend that actually would love to criticize me for. But I digress.
I even had to make sure about the flaws on Mason, not just on the original Mason, but also Mason 2.0.
Yeah, forget! The spray is actually a very devastating weapon. If I remember correctly, that the face would be where the spinning cobra would be shooting. So, there is that instinct. And you have a keen sense of smell and good eyesight. That is a very huge weak spot for my dragon.
Because I already know that Mason is not capable of killing the Indominus 2.0, because I know I wasn't even mentioned, not on Goji Sensor's video, but I also even had to realize the mistakes that I had for this hybrid of mine. So, this is why I'm keeping this video short, because this is just a message to you, letting you know that this hybrid of yours would not be able to defeat Mason, because since I'm using realism, not
For your hybrid, perhaps, but you forget. I'm sure you were using percentages on your hybrid as well. But again, my hybrid is also using various percentages, not of equal share, but a higher percentage in favor of flying creatures.
not just realism, but also my own stuff that I had to put on this hybrid of mine, and especially from anything else, from what I know, this hybrid of yours would not be able to survive. So,
That's a lie. Strong immune system, durable armor, but lightweight armor, capable of flight, spray attack, and adaptable maneuverability. Nice try, Mason, but that is not how DNA works. Trying to say there are a lot of weaknesses. I admit, one swipe from your claws or one bite would kill my dragon. But none of those weapons of yours would actually matter if they don't hit anything.
sorry.
Also, someone actually also brought up that there is actually that tail that is potentially swinging. That's not gonna work. That's not gonna work very well, because that's a lot of weight you're gonna have to swing over, and it being flying all over the place. My hybrid would already be flying out of the way before the tail can actually swing, and it would have already sprayed. Also, there is also the eyelid issue that someone might actually bring up. The problem with that, of course, is the spinning cobra, like all snakes, actually have scales that cover their eyes. So, there's an advantage there, a counter advantage against its own blinding spray. So, and it also would not be shedding very much, and it would actually stay in the water a lot of the time because it does not blink. And the shielding scales would actually allow it to stay in the air, spray its attack, and not have to worry about about hurting itself.
So this is just a little message to you to improve on your work and try to make your hybrid a little more better. If you try to make it,
That's a vague statement. I actually made fewer contributors, if you actually like to see videos of that. But I digress. I made 2 hybrids of similar nature. So thanks for that.
2.0 or 3.0. So don't go too hard on your hybrid next time. And that's all I gotta say. I'll see you guys later.
Weak argument. Moving on from all that, let's go ahead and see what other hybrids have been created. Moving on from that, I want to see, where is it? I want to see... That's a bird. New giant squid. I made a hybrid for Vex. Where is it? Yeah, that's a fail from
July
that guy.
26th.
I already seen that. We already watched
We try and ground it with some
and boom. Oh, don't need that pole. By the way, thanks again for what? Let's see here. Where is it? Creating Behemoth? What happens when you... Yeah, let's just go ahead and go to Vex. Because Vex is cool. Alright, yeah, I already challenged, you already seen a video on Vex. You've seen what I created to counter Vex, but I'll have to make a video for that soon, so. With the scenario, so stay tuned for that. Ah, yeah, there's Hank. Killed by its own success. Killed by its own
The Hybrid
power.
War, a Pandora's box I unknowingly opened when I created Hank as a joke counter to the Indom 2.0. And due to that video, many others have now entered into the war, quote unquote, trying to create the most powerful, lethal, and scariest hybrid. But one thing I've noticed throughout all of them, every single hybrid, they all have one issue. They're stuck on solid ground.
Except for my hybrid, my first hybrid, which was primarily in the air.
Even if you take the top dogs of the hybrid war, the Indom 2.0, Hank, and put them into the water, while on land they're unstoppable, in the water, I wouldn't even have them pass a swordfish. So I thought, why not take this battle to the seas? The land animals can have fun up there, but down here, a new era of hybrids will be let loose.
And I'm gonna bet this is gonna be the hybrid war for next year or something. Because, I mean, who's with me on this? I built myself a giant reptilian seal dragon. If you remember, that is the Poseidon's Coast Dragon.
Battle much faster, much darker, and much deadlier. Hello everyone, it's your host Goji Guy, and today
and that's actually why I have chosen the sea crate for the venom. Lot more potent than what you find on land.
I'm stepping into the ring of the hybrid war and presenting a beast so fine-tuned, it may, off the bat, be one of the strongest sea creatures the Earth has ever made. So, with that in mind, hop into a submarine and buckle up, as we're going for a little dive. Again, hello everyone, it's Goji Guy, and man, has Hank had quite the domino effect. So before we get into the hybrid I made, I do want to break down a few things that I have in one way or another wanted to address. Firstly, rules. Now, while the hybrid war isn't owned by me or Goji Center, there should be some set rules to keep it fun and thought-provoking. Firstly, that being your animal should be realistic. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, Goji Guy, that's rich coming from you. I mean, you saw what Hank did to himself. And my response? Yes. Yes, I did. There are two things that should be said, though. Firstly, I say in that video directly that Hank is a fictional beast, literally saying he's not meant for the real world. And secondly, it was Goji Center's response that started the whole realism aspect. Before Goji Center's response video, it was literally just Hank, Indom 2.0, and my few hybrid shorts. So with the realism rule at play, I will be playing fair this time. But I'm also bringing this up because, yes, I've seen all your hybrids. I get tagged in them daily. But with that being said, some of you guys do take the easy route, making your dinosaur entirely fictional. So try to make something unique and that could actually possibly exist, as that is much more fun than an interdimensional ape with telekinetic powers.
Yeah, Dangerville, that's a pretty nasty thing. But I did make quite a few interesting creatures in my journey of hybrid building. Let me know if you guys want me to continue that, cause I'm actually interested in making more monsters.
That taps into monster brainwaves and takes in literal fictional alien DNA. Anyways, hey, script editing here. Literally, as I wrote the part you just heard, Go Center released a post talking about the whole real animal.
Okay, let's see here. There's the rules. Moving aside from legendary Jurassic Park, the Great Hybrid War is here, and it's just getting started. We'll open a commission with. Yeah, you can read the rules for yourself. Let me go ahead and take the time real quick. I'm gonna read them myself. More details. A single trace of kaiju DNA will get you disqualified, and your hybrid will be placed in the Hall of Shame. Only real animals, extinct or extant, are allowed in the genome. Boom! There you go. That's the kind of thing that I was looking at here. Obviously, with that being said, I am going to make sure that, yeah, those are the kind of rules that I was going off of, so, yeah, moving on.
Animals only thing. So, yeah, just want to cover that. So, with that out of the way, make sure to subscribe for to keep up with the hybrid wars. And let's literally dive in.
Let's keep it
Now,
going!
firstly, this new hybrid needs a purpose, a reason to be let loose, as all hybrids do. And while normally I'd say to challenge the previous hybrids, well, this is the first ocean one, so there's really no one to fight.
Until a few hybrids. I made one that is specifically designed to be the ultimate Coast Guard. I'll actually have to make a hybrid video on that. Assuming I actually make time for that, because I've actually got a pretty busy schedule outside of YouTube, and it's kind of gotten me burnt out. I am sorry, guys. I am not uploading as much as I want to for you guys. I love doing what I do here, but real life is just exhausting sometimes.
So, we'll be going for a species
anyway,
that have been roaming the
moving on.
oceans for over 450 million years. These creatures are older than trees, older than the rings of Saturn, even older than coal on Earth. We are talking about the most well-known fish in the ocean, sharks. Sharks have ruled the oceans for millions of years. Now, with that being said, why are we going for sharks? Well,
Because sharks!
Cody Center said I should have a reason to make a hybrid. So, yeah, that's why. Now, this video is more just me finally making a hybrid for the hybrid war. And I mean, as you'll see at the end of this video, this guy will easily tear a shark apart. But this is just finally my actual entry into the whole war part. Because Hank isn't technically a part of it. He started it, but isn't in it. But as you'll see through this video, we'll be creating the most streamlined, perfectly built killing machine ever. So, with all that out of the way, I'm so happy to finally step into the hybrid war that Hank started. So, let's dive in. As I present to you, the Velox Crystallis Adaptidus. So, who do we start off with? Who will be our base? Well, for that, my friends, I picked two of the most successful ocean beasts the world has ever made. I present to you the Orca.
That's actually DNA that I've chosen for Poseidon. Yeah, specifically for the brain power, but I've actually used a few more.
Along with the Orca, we have the Tylosaurus.
Yep! I've also chosen Tylosaurus for the ramming ability.
So let's firstly cover what these two alone are able to do together. Starting with the Orca's contributions. Firstly, intelligence. Orcas are among the smartest marine animals, capable of advanced problem solving and complex hunting strategies. This ensures the hybrid has a tactical advantage in the open oceans. They are so smart, in fact, even some of your land hybrids are at risk, as any of the Arctic hybrids that have been cooked up are at risk of being hunted by this beast. Another scary evolutionary advantage the orcas have is their echolocation. Orcas use echolocation to navigate and hunt in dark or murky waters. So no matter where its prey is, the orca will show the true meaning of the term, you can run, but you can't hide. Another aspect the orca provides is hunting skills. And while this hybrid will be mostly a loner, she will still have the natural pack hunting skills of the orca, along with its hunting precision, making this hybrid an effective lone hunter in the waters. And finally, from the orcas, speed and agility. No duh. Orcas are fast. No, really, like really fast. On average, being able to reach a top speed of 34 miles an hour underwater. This provides the hybrid with incredible bursts of speed and pursuits or escapes. Now, onto the Tylo. The Tylosaurus is one of the most well-known marine reptiles of all time, and there's a good reason for it. These guys have gnarly bites and crazy bodies. So let's see what he brings to the table. The Tylosaurus firstly brings size and strength. Now, as you'll see, this hybrid won't stay big for too long, but this will provide our hybrid with a streamlined body and still immense strength no matter the size. He also adds on to the orca's already great hunting skills, now giving it the skills and knowledge of an apex ambush predator. As a reptilian ambush predator, Tylosaurus traits give this little guy strength and efficiency in sudden attacks. Though there is one trait we'll be staying away from, that being the double-hinged jaw, because
well, the I actually kind of stayed with a double hinge jaw for purposes. But yeah.
As you'll see, firstly we'll already make a
Actually, no, I actually used the second set of jaws specifically. For a much more razor sharp teeth and stuff.
devastating bite as is. But secondly, as you're about to hear, there are already plenty of issues that arise with these two being mixed. So we're gonna stray away from that one, as it would just be too difficult to fix. So together these two beasts make one heck of a base, providing a balanced body of both speed and power. As the Orca's speed and agility, and combined with the Tyler's brute strength and size, creates a predator capable of both chasing prey over long distances and overwhelming them in close combat. They also supply the hybrid with immense hunting versatility, as this hybrid can now excel in both ambush and active pursuit strategies, giving it the adaptability to dominate in various aquatic conditions. And finally, it would have an ego like no other. Having the intelligence of an orca, paired with the intimidation and strength of a Tylo, this hybrid already dominates in the water. But that's not to say it's flawless, as, trust me, many issues already arise. So let's tackle those. Firstly, and arguably most importantly, energy efficiency. Both orcas and Tylosauruses are powerful predators, but they require high energy levels to maintain their size and speed. This means the hybrid would burn through energy quickly, limiting its endurance during prolonged hunts or resource-scarce environments. Another massive issue is its durability and defense. Orcas and Tylos skins aren't exactly resistant to attacks. Compared to other armored creatures, the hybrid will be vulnerable from sharp teeth or claws from rival predators. Another issue is versatility in aquatic conditions. Orcas prefer colder waters, while the Tylosaurus likely thrived in warm tropical seas. This mismatch could make the hybrid less adaptable to drastic temperature changes. Another issue that arises is precision in hunting. While orcas and Tylos are excellent predators, they lack the certain specialized hunting tools, like extreme jaw sharpness or hyper agility for catching smaller, faster prey. And finally, surface vulnerability, as the top of his body would be exposed, making it more vulnerable to ambush from above. So, how can we fix these issues, while also amplifying this hybrid already? Well, first up is a saltwater crocodile.
Yeah, I've chosen that one too, and I think I've also added Deinosuchus.
So why the saltwater croc? As you're about to see, he helps with a lot of the issues, and also adds quite a bit to the hybrid. So let's start with what he helps diminish. Firstly, heat tolerance. Crocodiles are well adapted to warmer climates, and can regulate their body temperature effectively.
I'm gonna have to go
this
through
trait
the
will help
list a
mitigate
little
temperature
bit.
sensitivity, which arises from combining animals adapted to cold waters, such as the orca, and others that you will see soon. Another issue the saltwater croc helps is in the defense department. The croc's tough, scaly skin is highly resistant to bites, claws, and really any form of physical impact. Given the
But I've also added that armor, plus the elephant seal DNA, to further allow it to survive in cold waters, as well as take heavier impacts.
hybrid exceptional defense against attacks. This solves the lacking armor issue from the original. And finally, energy efficiency. Crocodiles are highly energy efficient predators, capable of going long periods without eating, while conserving energy in more intense hunts later. This helps the hybrid survive during long periods of time with scarce food availability. So, if and when this little guy has to migrate and doesn't know how she'll get her own food, she'll be fine not eating for a while. Now into the things the croc boosts, the main one being ambush hunting skills. Saltwaters are well known for being masters in stealth and ambush, using bursts of immense strength to overwhelm and surprise their prey. This adds a new dimension to the hybrid's hunting strategy, making it effective at ambushing as well as chasing prey. And there's also three things the croc adds, those being bite, amphibiousness, and adaptability to water types. Firstly, the croc's bite is a major part of this hybrid's power. Crocodiles have one of the strongest bite forces in the animal kingdom, and this trait will enhance the hybrid's ability to crush prey or penetrate through tough armor. And trust me, what the teeth will give her later, no matter who you are, you will not enjoy a bite from this girl. Next up is amphibiousness. Crocodiles thrive in shallow waters, which means the hybrid gains an advantage in environments where orcas and Tylosauruses would struggle, adding a new environment for the hybrid to thrive in. And finally, adaptability. Despite the name, saltwater crocs can actually live fine in fresh water. This is due to their specialized salt glands, which helps them excrete salt when in marine environments. So taking their glands...
Yeah, my hybrid is also pretty adaptable. Deep, shallow waters, and it can even waddle itself onto land. And it can also dive very deep depths, thanks to the elephant seal.
In applying it to our hybrid, that means our hybrid can thrive in all sorts of waters,
and
from
the
cold and warm
Leviathan,
to clear and murky,
as well
to
as
even
the
fresh and
killer
salt.
sperm whale.
There is nowhere that is safe from this fella. So, the saltwater croc fixes the heat tolerance issue, defense, and energy efficiency. It also helps boost ambush skills, and adds a stronger bite, amphibiousness, and adaptability. Though, still, there are some issues that we need to cover. So, next up on the roster, the Barracuda.
This hybrid here is
Next up is
actually
one of the most
faster
streamlined
than
predators in the
mine.
modern ocean.
But
the
mine's
Barracuda,
got better
a lightning
defense.
fast, armor-plated nightmare of the deep. The Barracuda, despite its small size, is extremely crucial to this hybrid. So let's start with what he fixes. The main thing the Barracuda helps with is speed. While strong, the Orca and Tylo are not built for quick, sudden bursts of speed or tight maneuvering. Now, while the Croc already helped solve this, the Barracuda really stands it out and makes this hybrid a nightmare in the water. The Barracuda's streamlined body shape and rapid acceleration helps this hybrid move faster, make sharp turns, and strike with extreme precision, making it harder for prey to escape. While small, he will greatly affect the hybrid's body, making him much more streamlined and greatly reducing his size from the likes of the Orca or the Tylo, though he'll still be a decent length. Reducing his overall size helps boost his agility and maneuverability. On to what this little guy boosts, that being hunting efficiency and attack speeds. Now, the issue with larger animals like the Orca is that they often rely on brute force, but that can burn energy quickly. So, the Barracuda's lightweight, hydrodynamic adaptations make the hybrid more energy efficient while attacking, allowing it to dart in, bite, and retreat with minimal effort before striking again. And now what he adds, that being some incredibly sharp teeth and great attack speeds.
But the problem is, my design is actually designed for great defense that can take blows after blow, and it also has a venomous. It only needs one good strong bite to deliver venom, or one potent strike in the wrong place.
While the hybrid has a crushing bites thanks to the Croc and Orca, it needs slicing power for more versatile attack styles. The Barracuda's needle-like ultra-sharp teeth allow the hybrid to slice through flesh effortlessly, dealing devastating wounds even without full force. This means it can injure its prey with quick strikes before finishing them off. And overall, we get an animal with now even better hunting skills, a sleek and agile body, and most importantly, some of the most lethal teeth in the ocean. Now onto another big boy, the Beluga.
Yeah, the Leviathan. Yeah, I've chosen the Leviathan for the echolocation and the stronger teeth. Probably not going to be the same ability of echolocation that the Beluga has, but with the spermaceti that this relative of the sperm whale does, well, that means it can actually dive deeper than this hybrid.
Now, I know. Really good guy, a Beluga? I mean, these guys are just goofy. And while, yes, they do look funny, their specialized abilities helps make this hybrid even more formidable than she already is.
And getting in colder waters, yes.
Firstly, versatility. While the Orca does have echolocation, it isn't the best the ocean has to offer, as Orcas and Tylos mostly rely on sight and sound for hunting, which is pretty ineffective in deep, dark, or murky waters. The hybrid would struggle to locate prey in low visibility conditions or sense movement through the water. Solution? Well, the Beluga is known for its echolocation skills, being one of, if not the best at it in the world. They're able to detect prey in complete darkness, can track fast-moving or hidden objects, and can sense movement from long distances. Now into what he boosts, that being adaptability to extreme environments, such as temperature and depth tolerance. Tylos were built for warm, tropical waters, while Orcas prefer colder conditions. Without adaptation, this hybrid could struggle to survive extreme temperature shifts. Its body might also lack buoyancy control, making it inefficient in different water depths. But luckily, the Beluga's insulating blubber and cold resistance is going to help out. Belugas thrive in Arctic waters due to their thick blubber, which regulates body temperature and provides energy reserves.
I've chosen the elephant seal for that kind of ability, as well as being a little bit more aggressive and diving deeper than belugas do. I'll have to look into this a little bit more, but I do know elephant seals dive well over 8,000 feet.
Adding Beluga DNA gives this hybrid heat retention, allowing it to survive in icy waters while also functioning in warmer climates. And its blubber also improves buoyancy control, helping the hybrid adjust its position in the water without constantly expending energy. And lastly, it further adds intelligence. Having Orchid DNA as a base, plus Beluga, will ensure this animal is very smart, and plans out its moves carefully, rather than attacking at random. So yeah, as you see, the Beluga is a great addition. So overall, we have an insane beast. Mixing everything together, we have a super intelligent being.
Yeah.
She's able to use echolocation to find her targets, and thanks to the adaptability of the Croc and Beluga, this hybrid can hunt with pinpoint accuracy in any water, ranging from deep, dark saltwater to fresh streams and even murky creeks. Really, any water type you can imagine, this hybrid will survive in. No shore is safe from her power. And speaking of power, let's cover her stats. How strong is she? Well, starting with her size. This hybrid comes in on an average length between 20 to 25 feet long. Smaller than the Tylo, but larger than most
That's about the size of an
predators.
average
And despite
orca.
her size, she is surprisingly lightweight, allowing her to stay quick, weighing in at only around 3 to 4 tons. And now, onto speed. This hybrid have a cruising speed of roughly 20 miles an hour, but for quick bursts, she can boost that speed all the way up to 50 for a chase. But onto one of the most important things, her bite. I got rid of the arm issue with Hank as, well, this hybrid doesn't have arms.
Yeah.
But what about the bite? Well, trust me, this bite is just as devastating. This hybrid would bite with similar forces to a saltwater croc, that being around 3,700 psi. But what makes it much scarier is that this hybrid isn't trying to
Probably
saw through or
bigger
chop
in
you in half.
proportion.
No. Her goal is to cause as much pain as possible and quickly make you bleed out, as her teeth aren't croc style or Tylo. No, they're the teeth of the barracuda, being further
Makes
reinforced
sense.
to the orca's tooth structure, making sure she doesn't break them. Along with that, there's one reason we picked the Tylosaurus over the Mosasaur, that being its stronger snout, allowing her to ram into enemies as needed. But how quickly can she bite? Well, that's another horrifying aspect, as this hybrid will be able to bite in rapid succession, biting around 5 to 7 times per second if she needs to. But back to her snout. How does she breathe? Well, this hybrid actually has 2 ways to go about that. Firstly, her nose. Thanks to the croc and Tylo DNA, this hybrid has a normal nose, used for taking in air to breathe. But she also has 2 big gills, similar to the barracuda. Then one issue you might think of is the fact that she might take in water through her nose while swimming. But thankfully, we have a fix for that. Firstly, a nasal valve mechanism. Similar to how crocodiles and whales have
Yeah.
muscular flaps that seal their nostrils shut when submerged, this hybrid would have an automatic closing mechanism that activates when she enters water. And just to really make sure, we're also giving her water-sensitive reflexes, which sounds outlandish, but I mean, it's as it sounds. When she detects
You know, for the crocodile, I actually have crocodile DNA, but there's also the sea crate DNA I have chosen for that ability, as well as the venom and the greater air capacity and the ability to absorb oxygen from the water.
she's in water, which should be pretty easy to do. I mean, just use your eyes. Her body will trigger her nasal passages to close and redirect oxygen intake through her gills. Now, why did I give her a nose? Well, that's because she not only can go in water, she can even go onto land for short periods of time, similar to an orca. Along with
Same with my hybrid.
that, air has much more oxygen in it than water. So if she's on a long migration period and needs to boost herself, taking in air through her nose will provide much better stamina than just her gills. For her swimming, she can swim from depths anywhere from 500 to 700 meters deep. And overall, she would live for around 30 to 40 years. So yeah, I think it's safe to say this is a pretty well-built hybrid, much better than Hank. And so, here she is, the Velox Chrysalis Adaptidus.
Vex.
And yeah, there she is. But something's missing. She's almost too perfect. I know, that's a big claim. But I feel she's missing a flair to her. Hank's design was so iconic. She needs something too. And well, my friends, I'm not gonna disappoint. I am so confident with this hybrid, she's honestly unbeatable. While sure, she might have minor flaws, her gene pool is so well balanced, and all the animals complement each other so well, it's honestly boringly perfect. So let's throw a wrench into the mix, a wild card. And some of you may have seen this coming, as I mean, her name doesn't make sense. I mean, Velox Chrysalis Adaptidus, what does that mean? Well, let's break it down. Velox means swift or fast, which that checks out given the barracuda. Adaptidus means adapted or adaptable, which really checks out, given she can really go anywhere, even land. But what about Chrysalis? Well, that's a custom fun touch. Something I bet none of you would have expected. There is one more fish in her DNA. All these pics you've seen so far, yeah, that's not her full design. Ladies and gentlemen, the final fish to the mix, the glassfish. Yes, really. Oh, and did I say nerf her? Oh, whoops, sorry. I meant buff her by quite a bit. Now, the glassfish, as you could probably guess, is see-through. But what makes it see-through? Well, there are 2 different parts of its body. The main body itself, and then the fins. And while there's a lot of info on the body itself, we're going to look at what makes its fins see-through, as that is what will be replicated. And to keep it short and simple, it's due to 2 main things, that being pigmentation, or lack thereof, and muscle density. Now, there is an issue. While being transparent is great for camouflage, it's horrible for durability, as your muscles or skin are now super thin. So how can we get that effect with the fins without reducing the fin durability too much? Well, put on the lab coats we used to make Hank, as we're going to implement selective transparency. Unlike glassfish, which have full transparent tissue, this hybrid will only develop transparency in the very ends of its fins, reducing the pigmentation in non-essential areas, such as cartilage. This means muscle-dense regions of her body stay opaque and durable, while the outermost fin tissue remains practically see-through. And thanks to Vex's gene pool, the only part of her body that'll be see-through is her outmost fins, which are made of, say with me, cartilage. So I'm happy to finally reveal her full design. Artist, remove those fins. Here she is, Vex. Now there is one last purpose to her new fins. And as weird as it sounds, it's a failsafe. Now, what do I mean? Well, Vex is, quite frankly, perfect. I really don't think you can have a more balanced creature than her. But here's the thing. she's not the best at any one category. You can by all means have a fish that is stronger, has a more powerful bite, is larger, or is faster. But the thing is, she has countermeasurements to each one of those. Facing a beast that's much stronger, well, that would require great size, meaning they're slower. Vex would use her superior speed and agility to make sure they never land a hit. Got a creature with a stronger bite? Well, that would require a strong jaw and a lot of muscles, aka, again, a larger creature, making them weigh more and making it easy to outmaneuver them. What about a faster creature? Well, to get really any faster than Vex, which honestly even the 50 miles an hour speed is pushing it, that would be like full peak. I suppose her average top speed would be around 45-ish. Getting any faster would require a lot of trade-offs. Firstly, size. Getting faster at this point means getting smaller. Another thing, maneuverability. If you focus too much on speed,
I've
it would become
actually
too difficult
chosen
to move and evade attacks
a
in
much
battle.
stronger
Finally,
build in
stamina.
defense.
Sure, you may be much faster, but Vex having a nose and in turn lungs provide her with much better stamina. So she would just outmaneuver a faster fish. And if for whatever reason she needs to flee, she could just swim down. As if you're going to make a somehow faster hybrid, you need a lot of fast fish. And well, I hate to tell you, but fast fish, or at least the ones that be faster than Vex, don't go deep. As faster fish normally hunt in the epipelagic zone of the ocean.
My hybrid goes pretty deep. It can at least go to the Twilight Zone if it wanted to. Actually, now that I'm looking at this chart, it can actually go down to the Abyssal Zone.
Around 0 to 200 meters in depth, as that region is abundant in prey fish. And the only fast fish that can go to her depth only stay for a short burst when hunting. So she has speed covered really well. But what are the fins for then? What are they a countermeasure to? Well, there's one group I left out. What if someone makes a super intelligent fish? Well, firstly, Vex is already incredibly smart. Having the mental skills and stability of the orca and beluga, and along with that, the wide range of hunting skills that is provided by the Tylosaurus, saltwater croc, barracuda, and much more. This makes her almost unbeatable in combat. But let's say someone does make a smarter fish. By all means, you can make one smarter. So why is the glassfish here? How does this tiny fish help against a super genius? Well, it's to scare them. Yes, really. Making an animal that relies on its wits means you will have a fish that is constantly analyzing, trying to monitor its opponents, and trying to find any weaknesses. And really the only weakness Vex has would be her fins, like really any fish. But thanks to the glassfish, when swimming fast, even in clear water, Lord forbid murky or dark, her fins, the only thing a smarter fish would rely on to attack, are now gone, or at least gone from sight. All the opponent would see is a literal torpedo-shaped animal that knows their location, can outswim them, and knows almost every form of hunting.
Which is why I've actually made my hybrid bigger, stronger, and only needs one mistake from Vex. Fighting the limbs would be a very costly mistake.
Any animal that relies on its brain, while smart, also means it's more susceptible to stress, fear, and confusion, which is exactly what Vex will inflict. So, sorry, I'm just very proud of this one. Vex can deal with strength, speed, bites, and even brains. So, unless some new dumb rule is widely accepted, I think it's safe to say Vex is pretty darn good. But with that being said, while me and Goji Center have our ongoing and upcoming lore, I want to do my own little thing on the side. The ocean is big, like really big. So over the next few weeks,
yeah, over
I will update you all where Vex
70%
is on
of
Earth
our
in the
planet.
community tab of my channel. So if you want to keep up, please make sure to subscribe. So to those who want to make a challenge and try and stop her massacre along the way, you'll have the chance. And here's the best part. If and when you guys do upload your own water hybrid, I'll try my best to make sure to react to it live, so me and my audience can see the new challenger. So, get cooking, everybody. So, what did you think? Did I cook? Or do you think she's gonna kill herself on day one? Let me know.
You did cook,
And if you
I'm
enjoyed
gonna
this,
be honest.
please subscribe. This took so long to make. Also, wait. I couldn't find a place to talk about it in the video, but I'll put it here. I've partnered up with G-Fest to give away 10 free weekend passes for free, along with the grand prize of a full coverage to G-Fest. I'm talking plane ticket, hotel room, even spending money. So if you want a chance to win a ticket, there will be a Google form down below. We've already given away one of them, so you might be number 2. So go check it out. And with all that being said, thank you all so much for watching. And as always, keep collecting. Goji Guy out. See ya.
Wait, what? You mean to tell me they made a fish and let the damn thing go? The hell do you expect us to do? We didn't plan for this. We don't even know what the thing is made of. Okay, listen, I don't care what Goji Industries is doing or what they plan to do with it. Just please, make sure that thing doesn't get near the island. Dude, really? What do you mean, what island? The one with the giant ape on it, you moron!
Uh-oh, and Hank is returning. But I'm afraid this is going to be where we conclude this little adventure of ours. I am now going to go ahead and start making some videos, so please, Ammonites, if you liked what you see in this live stream and you want to see more of the hybrid war, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe, get all that jazz, get looking today, and as always, my Ammonites, I will see you